My name's Kyle Bauer. I'm a drummer in Melbourne, Victoria, and I'm a Red worship artist. So this is my current setup. I've got the 15-inch vertical hi-hats. I'm loving that they've got like a lathe top and a raw bottom, so you can flip them around depending if you want a different sound. I've got a 19-inch traditional crash on the left, and I have a 20-inch traditional dark crash on the right. I've also got a 20-inch vertical effects crash that I don't have here at the moment, but I also swap that into my setup just depending on here it is. I swap it in and out of my setup depending on, I guess, what's needed in that praise and worship set, or depending on the song. And then I've got my good old trusty traditional dark 22-inch ride with the raw bottom, lathe top. This thing's awesome for getting stick definition when you're playing worship songs, but also just super easy to crash into for those big builds. So I started drumming when I was in grade 3, and it was kind of just something we did in primary school. So you could play guitar, you could do keys, or you could start playing drums. And my mum thought it'd be good for me to play some drums because I didn't play any other sport. So that's where I started, and I just had a drum teacher that saw a gifting in a sense in it, and he said you should continue with it. And I was just in primary school and I didn't really understand what that meant, but he chatted with my mum about it, and then all through high school I used to do private drum lessons as well. But when I started coming to church in year 9, in youth, I just started playing drums there and started to really fall in love with the whole praise and worship aspect of being a worship drummer and being a drummer. And that's where it just started to grow from there. So I guess I had a really solid foundation of actually investing in drum lessons, getting good at playing drums. And then when I started coming to church at a younger age, started growing in that gifting of being a worship drummer in a sense. Yeah, when I was growing up, definitely Travis Barker, Blink-182. I loved my punk pop, punk rock when I was definitely younger. So a lot of that drumming I think even tied into Hillsong 2009, 2010, like that old school type of praise drumming. And definitely as I've gotten older, I'm loving elevation worship, and there's a drummer there, OJ. He's definitely one of my favorites at the moment. I'd say as a whole, I'm really digging elevation worship at the moment and the songs that they're coming out with. Not too sure if I'd have a specific worship leader that I'm enjoying the most, but yeah, Bethel, Hillsong, Elevation, definitely. They've got strong foundations at the moment. Big influences, especially with drumming and worship drumming at the moment. Yeah. But those Planet Boom songs are definitely super enjoyable to play on drums, and can be pretty tricky. But I've got to say, good old Hillsong. Some of their worship songs are some of my favorite to play. Things like What a Beautiful Name, Oh Praise the Name. Yeah. I think as a drummer in a worship setting, in a worship team, it's important to bring, the foundation aspects of it, of keeping the time and keeping the dynamic. But it's also important to gel and listen to the bass player and what they're playing, but listening to the whole band, understanding who's playing what, and just complimenting what they're playing. Then make sure they're listening to you. Not trying to bring things out that are too, over the top in a sense, because we don't want to distract people from what it is we're bringing and bringing worship, and we don't want to distract people from God. And something that I really enjoy doing is if I don't do it in my rehearsal or in my practice, I don't really bring it out in the set or during praise and worship during church. Just because one thing is I don't want to throw other people off or throw the worship leader off. I want to be consistent in my drumming and building a solid foundation for other people to do what they have to do and what they want to bring as well. So I've got a vertical aluminium snare here. So it's a 6.5 by 14, and I love it. It is a solid workhorse. You can tune it high, tune it low. I think I've got it tuned fairly high at the moment. Just getting that solid crack and using it a lot more in settings where I can play a little bit louder, sometimes out more of the night services at our church. Dynamics, but also like limb control are super important in church. Not every church is a 10,000 seater auditorium. So, you know, understanding that you can play your kick, you can play your toms, they're generally lower frequencies, so they can play a little bit harder and keeping them at a solid, you know, baseline of a level for your front of house guy and gates and stuff like that. But with your snare, you know, just being consistent with the sound, but that can also get quite loud when you're, you know, rim shotting it and doing stuff like that. So I think when it comes to the cymbals, I've definitely chosen series that I think work well in church, which are the traditional, the verticals, traditional darks, and I think the darks also go well. I don't own any darks at the moment. But yeah, just wanting stuff that can be washy but not drowning like the rest of the mix out. Still getting stick definition while, you know, being washy and just having lower pitch, I guess, in general. Just having that lower tone and lower frequency. So it's why I've gravitated to the traditional darks. They are a little bit just less washy than the traditional range. But with that being said, I've got a traditional 19-inch on the left that I use to give some more wash. And I know at my church, we've also we've got the 20-inch traditional crash, the 22-inch vertical light ride, and the 22-inch vertical crash. So just having you know, bigger cymbals for that wash and worship dynamic for everyone to use. But when I'm playing, I like to use some smaller cymbals just to get more of a consistent sound. And I find that this setup also works well in the studio. Smaller cymbals have that quick sound you need, and they can get out of the mix a little bit faster. If we're on the line of your IEMs and ear protection and stuff, it's just important to have drums in your mix so that you can hear your overheads. I'm not saying they have to be super loud, but I know, look, when I was younger, I definitely didn't have drums in my mix. And it wasn't until I probably invested in some better molds for ear protection that I really started to then enjoy having the drum mix in my ears. I think, yeah, when you're playing your cymbals, like, you know, you're not laying into them super hard. And look, there's moments where you'll be building and you might play 10 bridges straight, and you're just building, you know, and it's what's needed in the church, and you can smack it, go for it. But I think, yeah, in other times, just understanding when you're washing, and I think it's just important to have the right cymbal for the right, I guess, setting. But less is always more. That's my number one thing. Just preparing for what's needed in a song, and if you're a drummer that maybe is thinking, oh, I can't actually play that fill, I can't play that groove, I'm not grasping it, understanding what's coming from the rest of the band. Is it a halftime type of groove, like what's going on, and then dumbing it down in a sense, still bringing what's needed but not overcomplicating it. And with that being said, with any other parts that we're listening to songs and we've got the foundation of all of it, just try not to overcomplicate that too much. I think it's important to sit in the pocket, and with church drumming, you know, we're here to glorify God and not ourselves. So just bringing that to all aspects of it, connecting with others on the team, you know, really leading the way in prayer, and then kind of bringing what you do on your drums and on your instrument. Don't think that playing this and doing that comes first. You know, I'm a solid believer in praying for sets before your meeting as a team, praying during the week for the worship leader and what's going to happen in that service, and really having, you know, a vision for the songs that have been chosen, praying over that. Prayer in general is so important, but if I'm on a Sunday, just praying for the vision that the worship leader has kind of brought in the songs that they've chosen. Yeah, praying for that, and then practice. You know, we do want to also show up and be skilled in what we do. We don't want to rock up and just play. We want to practice at home and bring the best that we can. It's important to practice, be skilled, upskill yourself, and then bring that to the team so that, you know, you're not the weakest link on a Sunday. You want to bring the best that you can to have a solid foundation with everyone else on. Something I'm really passionate about at the moment is listening to the other instruments, the other musicians on stage and what they're playing. When I was younger, I would definitely just focus on just playing my drums. But now I tend to sit a lot more and just think, you know, who's going to take this instrumental? Who's really leading it? Is it the keyboard player? Is it the guitarist? What's the bass player playing right now? Are we locking in, or are we kind of got different accents going on, you know, not matching up? So just doing a lot of that. And if something, you know, you're not actually understanding, just talking to them, just communicating with your team and your friends. Like you don't rock up on a Sunday to do it all alone. You know, you're there to build relationship and community with your team. There's been some like services at church that have just been amazing, but yeah, I guess some of the things that I've also played would be like a Youth Alive main event. Just being able to come together with other youth ministries, other churches, you know, partnered in a vision and a mission for, you know, an overall move of God. Like it's awesome to just meet other people from other churches, and as a drummer, I think it's really cool to like sit and hear other MDs as well, just learn from other musicians and what they do in their church, and yeah, just again with that whole sense of community. So something I guess I do love in my drumming is just when you're spontaneous in worship drumming. I think it's really important, you know, when worship leaders, that's what we have hand signals for, because a lot of that can get lost now with backing tracks and the guide and all of that, and you're building your sets and you're following that, but there's nothing better than a spontaneous moment and just pulling out a song. You've got some extra time, you know, and the worship leader's like, we're going to go here, and you're just locking in with each other. And it was actually at Youth Alive main event where we went into a spontaneous song, All the Earth. We were playing Lord Send Revival in 6/8, and we had 8 minutes spare. One of the production guys was in our ears. You got 8 minutes, so if you want to do another song, feel free to. And worship leader at the time went into All the Earth, and I actually do love that song at the moment, so it was just good to hear everybody flow. And my wife had some videos at the end of that moment, and it was just awesome to listen back to. I remember hearing the bass player like do a cool little lick, and I just thought, that's it, you know, like in a spontaneous moment, but everyone was still so prepared and knew the song. But look, if I could leave some wisdom at the end of this video, I'd just say just keep practicing and keep praying about what you're doing. Keep upskilling yourself, and just keep listening to what's going on as a band and a worship team. Definitely keep bringing that foundation of solid drumming, but just remembering that less is more. Yeah, that's me. I'm Kyle, signing off.